Hi, this is Frank Taylor with Nature at Your Door. This is another special On the Road with Nature at Your Door episode, filmed not in the Appalachian Mountains, but in the canton of Valais, high in the Swiss Alps. In this episode, we will climb to the summit of the Allalinhorn. Led by Swiss mountain guide Kurt Arnold, my young friend Macy from London, and a former student, Julian Minner, we will climb to the summit of this iconic peak.
Right here in your backyard. You never know what you're going to find.
I first started climbing at age 50, and now it is a real passion. I've climbed many mountains around the world, including Mount Meru and Kilimanjaro in Africa, Mount Taranaki in New Zealand, Adams and Baker in Washington State, and many more European summits. Today's climb will begin in the charming mountain village of Saas-Fee. Saas-Fee was originally a farming village, and many of the old barns are still well preserved today. Later, it became a ski mecca and summer hiking destination, and led to the development of the town. On this excursion, we will take the Alpine Express to the highest revolving restaurant in the world, and step out from there onto the snow and ice. I trained for months on steep trails in the Appalachian Mountains with a weighted pack to be ready for a week of climbing in the Swiss Alps. I did my gear check the night before as we prepared for whatever elements nature may throw at us at this high elevation. On this early September ascent, we were expecting temperatures at 10,000 feet to be around 27 degrees Fahrenheit, and the forecast was for sun and fortunately no surprise mountain snows. As we stepped out, we put on our crampons and climbing harnesses, and we roped together to begin the sinuous trek up the mountain with our guide in the lead. This was actually my 5th time climbing the Allalinhorn, as I often climb it for acclimation to altitude before making other longer and more challenging climbs. As we snaked up through amazing crevasses and mountain scenery, I thought again about climate change and the retreat of these glaciers. Swiss glaciers have retreated by 50% since 1930. Many of the normal routes to the mountain peaks in Europe have been closed due to poor snow conditions, rock falls, collapsing ice, and dangerous crevasses. Several of the peaks I had hoped to climb this summer were inaccessible. Following a winter of minimal snowfall, Europe experienced the hottest, driest summer on record. Throughout the Alps, climbers and guides had to adjust plans and routes, retreat, or simply abandon climbs due to ice and rockfall risks and generally poor conditions. I knew this would happen, but did not expect it to occur so soon. Europe is particularly hard hit by climate change. Europe is experiencing twice the average increase in temperature change over the global average. Since I climbed the Allalinhorn 14 years ago, this mountain is very different. In addition to a loss of glacial mass and how far it has receded, there are many more crevasses to be negotiated on this, what is called the, in quotes, normal route. It's much longer, requiring zigzagging back and forth crevasses. So technically, with more crevasses, there's more risk involved, and with those that are both seen as well as the unseen crevasses under snow bridges. We even had to jump over a crevasse, which was not a really great feeling when we were roped together. Our early September climb was further impacted by record warmth and the preceding dry summer. For the first time as we approached the summit, on the lax section that is usually good footing for crampons with solid snow and ice cover, the final approach was very steep and wet with loose layers of thawed ice and thawed rock and mud that was sliding on top of a permafrost layer of ice that made everything move. It felt like one step forward and 2 steps back. It was a very uncomfortable feeling. Below us, the slope steepened and dropped away for thousands of feet. We were in 4 and led by experienced Saas-Fee resident and well-known expert guide Kurt Arnold. Sadly, I also learned that a solo German alpinist tragically lost his life as he slipped and fell off the mountain to his death in 2022. It's never a good idea to climb alone. Always go with an experienced guide that knows the mountain and the nuances of the glacier as well. We were also here to experience the desolate and unforgiving glacial habitat at 13,000 feet, where there is 40% less oxygen than at sea level. On the elevation scale, high altitude is considered 8 to 12,000 feet. Very high altitude is between 12 and 18,000 feet. Because of the lower oxygen levels, this same activity that you might conduct at a lower level is much more difficult and challenging at this high elevation. From a biological standpoint, your heart rate increases and capillaries dilate, and there's also undesirable changes in the alkalinity of your blood, which further compounds your effort to get oxygen and supply it to both your brain and your muscles. Other bodily functions are impacted as well, including digestion, for example, which is why some people lose appetite, feel nauseous, or get sick at elevation. One's body can acclimate to elevation over time, though I read one study that it says it takes 45 days to really fully acclimate. For me, I have found climbing 2 or 3 times up to 10,000 feet is enough to get me ready for these short hops to 13,000 feet. It's no wonder that at 13 or 14,000 feet, it seems that the habitat is completely devoid of life. I feel that as a human, I'm trespassing across nature's boundary into a realm I don't belong, with barely enough oxygen. With the cold, ice, and winds that can reach hurricane force and literally blow you off the mountain, I can only be a temporary visitor here to witness and experience this magnificent scene when the weather is good, and then I can return safely. Here at the summit, we celebrate reaching the highest point on the mountain, but there's really only half the battle. As is my tradition, I unfurl a Radford Bobcat flag on every summit I achieve in recognition of the public school in Virginia where I taught biology for over 30 years. I must confess I fell on that loose rock on the way down, pulling down one of our rope mates. Fortunately, there's safety in numbers, and as soon we were back on our way. All in all, it was a fantastic, exhilarating experience, made more challenging by the changes that we had not expected. So thank you for watching this episode of Nature at Your Door. Most of my episodes are filmed in the Appalachian Mountains, representing organisms that you find in the East Coast biome. I cover everything from fungi to wildflowers, insects to amphibians, reptiles and trees, you name it. I cover all things nature. At the moment, I'm going to continue to do episodes about nature, adventure, and geology in Switzerland. I hope you'll stay tuned.